I spent 3 months in Italy in 2013, and then I went back in 2018 for a short while. And let me tell you, even after growing up in the southern United States, I have never experienced the overt disrespect and racism that I experienced in Italy.
Can we just acknowledge that not every place is safe for women or Black women? And I know we live in this society where women are empowered. I know that's the society that exists in America, but in reality, outside of certain bubbles in America, outside of the US, things are quite different. And even for Black women who decide to go abroad and even modernize countries, they will be quickly reminded that the world does not see them the same. And this is exactly what happened for this young African American woman who traveled to Italy and spent time abroad in Italy. I'm sure she grew up hearing beautiful stories about Italy on movies and seeing pictures and seeing vacations and seeing different marketing campaigns, right? Tell you why Italy is such a romantic place for people to visit. But when she went there on her own, she had a different experience. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video.
Did you see the video where that creator said he was shoved out of an elevator in Italy, but when they all found out he was American, they were like, this is not Italia, this is not Italia. That is very much Italia. That is Italy with its whole chest. I am so anti-Italy that if I was given an all-expenses-paid trip to the Amalfi Coast, Rome, wherever, I'm not going. Like I said in that video, thank you for the Renaissance, thank you for Nutella, Gucci, Prada, the other brands I can't afford. Let me tell you one thing. Give me all that, toss the rest of the country in the ocean.
Obviously, it's quite clear that she's had a very negative experience in Italy, largely associated with the fact that she's probably Black. I have Italian friends. I have Italian friends who have went to Italy and have had amazing times. Some of them I know want to move there, right? They talk about the hospitality. They talk about things being so relaxed, talked about things being so inviting. But notice how the narrative changed when the race of the person changes. In racism and a racist system is not just some random idea that only exists in the deep South and just particular towns. And as long as you leave those particular towns, you're going to be widely accepted. No, you have to remember imperialism and colonialism impacted all four corners of the earth. And Italy, just like the other European countries, was an imperialistic nation. They engaged very much not only in the slave trade, they also engaged in imperialism, and even today are having strong issues as it relates to immigrants because they are having different African immigrants and different immigrants from the countries that they previously colonized coming into the country looking for better economic opportunities. Similar to what's going on in Mexico right now, right? Where you have many immigrants who are coming in looking for better economic opportunities, and the different negative perception associated with that we see in America. It's the same thing for Black folks in Italy. There are not really healthy perceptions about Black people in Italy, because a lot of times they're seen as like these immigrants who are evading him. Not to mention that there's been a brutal history that Italy has had with the African continent, right? And so again, the reason I'm just saying that is not to try to harp on the past, but to try to bring context as to what's going there. Because when you're visiting a country, you're not just visiting that particular moment. You're visiting a culture, right? That's connected with history, and that's also connected with social norms, that's connected with cultural norms, that's connected with gender norms. All of these things matter. And so when women who grow up in the West grow up in this very liberal, progressive mindset, again, it can be a really big culture shock when they go to other countries who don't operate like that. Or when they go to other countries who are just downright anti-Black and are actually quite okay with it. And so this is why I think it's the responsibility of every Black person ultimately to move beyond what they're learning in the educational system and fully understand their history, so they're not surprised when they go to a country in Europe that's racist. Like, it's not surprising to them. So they are not overwhelmed. So they know what to expect, because this is the reality of what we're living in. This is also why it's important not to allow media to program you or not to believe everything you see online, because media, they have their own things that they're trying to sell. Media is ultimately about making money, about selling products, about trying to sell trips, trying to sell dreams, and trying to sell a lifestyle, but they are not about always telling the truth. And if they are telling the truth, it's usually only one component of the truth. It's not the whole narrative. So it's the responsibility of Black people, Black families, Black parents to ultimately help teach their kids to expect how the world sees them, how the world perceives Black people as a whole. And I know that history sometimes can be a little bit heavy and it can be a little bit dark, but that is the reality. And I'm not saying that as a Black person, you also can't have pride and you also can't love the way God made you. You absolutely can. I love being a Black woman, right? I'm also aware that not everybody in the world sees me that way. And that doesn't make me any less of a person, just means I have now the opportunity to decide where I need to go, where I want to engage, and how I want to behave. And if I, as a Black woman, know that a particular country has not only a history of racism, but has countless evidence to suggest that racism is still going on today, I'm probably not going to want to study abroad there. That's just me personally. But let us continue.
I spent 3 months in Italy in 2013, and then I went back in 2018 for a short while. And let me tell you, even after growing up in the southern United States, I have never experienced the overt disrespect and racism that I experienced in Italy.
Again, going back to my bigger point, it is a responsibility of every Black family, every Black person to either teach their kids, instill in their kids, or as Black people or as a Black person to personally understand the history of your people and the way that you are perceived, not only in the USA, but worldwide, because that understanding is going to help you navigate how it is that you interact with the world.
I'm talking assault. I'm talking people avoiding me in the street. I'm talking people acting like I was there to rob them because I'm asking for directions. There's a disgust, all out rudeness, just microaggressions worse than I have experienced in America. I wrote all about this in 2018, so you can go ahead and check out my story on the New York Times. And to this day, people still message me to say that they've experienced the same things and they're happy to find out that they weren't alone. I actually met a couple nice people there, and one of my closest friends I met while I was studying abroad. The rest of that country, though, no. And if you don't believe me, just Google race relations in Italy.
So there you have it. And, shout out to her for being honest about her experience. This certainly would not be the first time that I've heard of Black women complaining about experiencing racism in Europe. It's like, surprise, surprise. Yeah, you're probably still going to run into that. Even if you meet lovely Italian people, or even if you meet lovely Italian individuals, you can't be surprised if you see people who still contain the old cultural ethos, right? Or if they still contain mindsets that are connected with their traditional norms. And listen, I am all for women going and having a good time. I'm all for women, going and having fun experiences and traveling abroad safely, of course. I just continue to encourage people to try to just be a little bit more aware of what that is going to mean. So try to understand Black women, even if you're empowered, even if you're able to go to a predominantly white college, even if you have education or working at these really great corporations, you're still a Black woman. You're still Black, right? And if you go abroad and you're in those situations, the world is going to remind you that. A Black woman traveling abroad by herself to Italy experiencing racism, nothing new, nothing new at all. Let this be a reminder to, as much as possible, do your due diligence when you are traveling abroad. Look, you might have white friends who say that they had a great time. I have plenty of white friends who said they had a great time when they were traveling to Italy. That might be true, but you're not white. If you're a Black person, you always consider the source. That doesn't make your white friends' experience any less valid. It doesn't mean that there aren't great things there. That's fine. But a white person in Italy walking around experiencing different things is likely going to be received differently than a Black person walking around different things. And then if you're looking like you're an immigrant versus if you're looking like you're an African immigrant versus if you're looking like you're American, all those things could perhaps change the way that you're being. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you guys have any thoughts about traveling abroad? Have any of you guys been to Italy? What was your experience? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was your experience mixed? Let me know. Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.